We're on? Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the City of Ferndale, City Council Chambers. I'm pleased to welcome everybody today to talk about the bipartisan infrastructure law and its impact on our community. We have with us a number of speakers today. I want to welcome officially from our EPA colleagues, the Assistant Administrator for Water, Bruno Pickett, we'll hear from. We'll also hear from Deborah Shore, who's a representative with Region 5. We'll hear from our Congresswoman Haley Stevens, who played an important role in lobbying for the law and advocating for us. We'll be hearing from our Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy Director, Philip Ruse, and also our homegrown hero, Jim Nash, from the Oakland County Water Resources Commission. I just want to kind of set the background, which might help some of our speakers today, talk a little bit about Ferndale and some of our challenges with water infrastructure. So Ferndale is, like a lot of these interurban communities, a post-war community. We had most of our residential neighborhoods and housing stock built out, in the 40s or 50s. And with that, you had a different standard for plumbing, of course, but you also have poor documentation. You don't have a really good historical record to go to. So Ferndale being tasked with addressing the public health challenge that we do have with lead lines is a problem for us, because about 60% of our lines are still classified as unknown. We don't know whether those are copper, whether those are lead, whether those are galvanized. And so, we are tasked with verifying those lines, and those verifications come at a cost of about $325 per verification. So if you do that math, 60% of our lines is about 6,000 unknown lines. That's $2 million just to verify the documentation for our private properties. And that's a big ask for a community of our size of about 19,000 people. That's a big ask on homeowners, and it's a big ask on a local government. So I want to credit the impact that we've seen in the past couple months this summer, especially with the bipartisan infrastructure law enabling the EGLE initiative, or Get Out the Lead initiative. With their help, we've got some boots on the ground, and we've knocked 700 doors, and we verified 700 verifications, and that's about $100,000 that's offset our budget, which is also not impacting our water rates, right, which goes right to the homeowners. So that's a big, big, big help for us. And they're also helping us advocate just the public education campaign, helping us get the word out to residents about the importance of addressing the public health infrastructure, and also just generally how the city has been called to place a role in helping them with their private lines. So with that, I'd like to introduce Bruno Pickett next, who will come speak with us on behalf of the EPA. Bruno.
Thank you, Joe, and thanks for the City of Ferndale for hosting us. I'm under the mistaken impression, I have to go back. I thought we were talking about the Lions today. I grew up 2 miles from here at 7 Mile in Livernois. So for like most people in the city of Detroit, in the suburbs, I spent all of my life hoping against hope that the Lions would have a breakout season. It's now week 8 of the NFL season, and I remember in the years past watching people like Alex Karras and Mel Farr and Charlie Sanders and Greg Landry and Billy Sims and Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, all defeated by the curse of Bobby Lane. My dad was a fan of Bobby Lane, and he died in 1984. So that that this town has suffered for too long not having an NFL champion. So it makes me giddy to see this team with Jared Goff and David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown and J-Mo and all the rest of those guys do this. So that's really great and heartening for people in the city of Detroit. But when we step back and think for a minute, we also realize it's not just week 8 of the NFL season, it's also Children's Health Month. It's a time to redouble our efforts to protect the health and the well-being of children so that they can focus on what's important, learning, playing, and developing into our future leaders and football players, maybe. Anyway, this week specifically is Lead Prevention Week. And so it's a great time to recognize Ferndale for the efforts that you, Joe, and the whole city have been put in a partnership with EPA on lead. And that's why I'm thrilled to announce this collaboration between EPA and Ferndale that identifies lead pipes that deliver drinking water to home and accelerates their replacement, protects public health through the Get the Lead Out initiative. This program is funded by the Biden-Harris administration's bipartisan infrastructure law, and it'll drive us toward the goal we share, 100% replacement of lead service lines. And we've known for quite some time that there's no safe level of exposure to lead, especially for our children. And yet, millions of legacy pipes are still delivering drinking water to homes across the country. Joe, you mentioned, I think, that maybe there's 6,000 lead pipes in Ferndale alone, and talked about the costs associated with that. On a national level, we're talking about 9 million lead pipes across the country that are connected to water mains through lead lines that have been delivering water for generations, and until we get them out, will continue to deliver water that is potentially contains lead. And so this is an important and fundamental initiative to protect public health and our drinking water. As Joe mentioned, these legacy pipes are concentrated in older neighborhoods and disproportionately impact lower income communities and communities of color. The science here is really clear. Lead is a potent neurotoxin. There's no safe level of exposure. In children, it can severely harm mental and physical development, slow down learning, and irreversibly damage the brain. And in us adults, it can cause increased blood pressure, heart disease, decreased kidney function, and cancer. Lead exposure can also impact pregnancies, increasing the risk of low birth weight, premature birth, and miscarriage. And that's why this initiative is so important. The Get Out the Lead initiative is moving forward, just as in Ferndale, to provide technical assistance to approximately 200 communities nationwide, 200 communities that are moving forward toward a lead-free future. It's also an initiative we're proud to continue alongside the recent lead and copper rule improvements that I'm extremely proud of that we released just a couple weeks ago. Through this rule, we're taking a major step forward to protecting adults and children from lead in drinking water by achieving 100% lead replacement in communities across the nation within 10 years, improving TAMP sampling so that we know what the levels of lead are like, lowering the lead action level, and improving public communication about lead and drinking water. And just for a moment, I just want to congratulate Phil Roos and the state of Michigan for their efforts. You know, much of the rule that we just put out across the nation comes from the leadership that Michigan put in place to deal with lead in drinking water throughout this state. And much of it is modeled on the actions, whether it's tap sampling or reducing lead in our water throughout this state. Michigan's been in the lead. And I really think it's been a tremendous effort on the part of Michigan. And Michigan's been in the lead in environmental issues on a variety of ways under this administration. The lead and copper rule is founded on what was already built through the state of Michigan, but also our PFAS rule, which we announced earlier this year, is really based on a lot of the work that's being done in Michigan. So a big congratulations to you, Phil, to Michigan EGLE and the state of Michigan for their work in the environment. Together, we are working to be game changers in public health. And with this strong regulatory framework, ambitious technical assistance, we can ensure that no community is left behind. Ferndale, Joe, we're so proud to partner with you. Personally, I'm so excited to shake the hands of all the people here in Ferndale that are helping to make this happen. And thank you for your work to secure clean and safe water for your community. Now I'd like to pass the microphone to you, Deborah Shore, our wonderful regional administrator from Region 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno, and good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Shore. I'm the Regional Administrator for EPA Region 5 and manager of EPA's Great Lakes National Program, which is based in Chicago. And I'm so honored to join you today to celebrate Ferndale joining our cohort, as Bruno mentioned, 200 communities strong in the Biden-Harris administration's Get the Lead Out initiative. As Bruno emphasized, and you'll hear this again, there is no safe level of exposure to lead. The effects of exposure are well known and serious, including increased risk of heart disease, cancer, and in children, irreversible brain damage. And while lead pipes were banned in the 1980s, there are more than 9 million legacy lead service lines still delivering water to families and neighborhoods across America. And the problem is particularly pronounced here in the Midwest, partly because of when cities like Ferndale were built. Addressing this aging infrastructure is a high priority for the Biden-Harris administration, as Bruno mentioned moments ago, and EPA is tackling this issue by developing more stringent standards for public water utilities. But we know that meeting standards comes with a cost, and many municipalities are already stretching their budgets and dealing with rising prices. So that's where the bipartisan infrastructure law comes in. This legislation has earmarked a monumental $15 billion to accelerate lead service line replacement nationwide. What this means for Michigan so far is more than $210 million in supplemental funding for lead service line replacement since the legislation was passed in 2021. And this, I want to note, is in addition to regular appropriations for the state's drinking water state revolving fund. To ensure that all communities can access their fair share of this historic investment, EPA's Get the Lead Out initiative helps cities like Ferndale to identify lead pipes, to develop replacement plans, to engage and educate residents, and apply for funding. I love this program because it's a direct injection into the local economy for these 200 communities all over the country. The pipes that will replace the lead pipes are made in America. The workers are from the community, and they're eating breakfast and getting coffee and having lunch in the community while they're replacing these lead pipes. And so it's just having an important impact everywhere we do this. We're using every tool available, including regulation, funding, and this kind of technical assistance to get the lead out of our water once and for all. I've seen firsthand what this investment can mean because earlier this summer I participated in a live demonstration of lead service line removal in a small community in Illinois. That village's residents have been deprived for far too long of opportunities that safe water and robust resilience measures can provide. I saw the moment when crews removed the lead pipe in front of a home, and with it, relieve that resident's lingering anxiety about an uncertain supply of fresh water. What a meaningful moment that was to witness, and an affirmation that our work is paying off. I want to thank the Region 5 Water Division's large lead and infrastructure team, especially Val Boscher and Sarah Thorderson, for their work to make announcements like today's a reality. A whole of government approach would not be possible without our committed state partners at Michigan's Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. I'm so pleased that they're with us here today. And finally, I want to thank you, Ferndale's leaders, who work every day to ensure that this community has safe and clean water to drink. And now I want to turn it over to Congresswoman Haley Stevens. Thank you.
Well, good morning from a beautiful city called Ferndale. What a treat to have the host of experts that we have discussing today's initiative. I just want to hone in on the expertise and frankly, what I believe to be the iconic leadership that is here. Joe, what you've been able to do as city manager of Ferndale is incredibly commendable, and today is just another example of that. And frankly, if you live in Oakland County, you know that good leadership, yes, comes from elected leadership, but at the local level, there's so much pressure on our city managers, and it really comes down to good public administration and officials like Joe, who have just been so entirely dedicated to good work and delivery. Ferndale really is a humble city, but yet it's a magnificent, magnetic place to be. And there's a lot of commerce, there's a lot of residents who live here. It's a dense area. And as Joe mentioned, the age of some of our homes and the lack of paperwork and information, really pose some challenges, but a real moment for us to roll up our sleeves. And then, of course, to be joined here by Deborah Shore, who is someone, I don't even know how long I've known you, Deborah, but you're and known of you and admired your work and your dedication to the EPA alongside so many critical and important times that we have found ourselves in. We here in Oakland County, we're in an interesting time. We came out of a great recession 15 years ago. We've seen our economy rebound, but with that, we've also seen deindustrialization, meaning what some might call reindustrialization, a continued commitment to our clean energy economy. And as we have that commitment to clean energy, we also know that we've got to rehab, we've got to renovate. And so much of what we're focused on the infrastructure front, is really tied into the work that isn't necessarily right in front of our face, but it's right below our feet. And that's what we got to do with our pipes. And so, I love talking about this agenda, this Invest in America agenda that Joe Biden was a part of. What Deborah and Bruno, thank you so much. And what you just spoke and said on behalf of your initiative with EPA and getting the lead out, I want to salute you both, but that's also a salute to your teams and to these hardworking professionals. And we always know with the EPA, it's the quality, it's the talent, it's making sure you have access to that talent. I mean, look, we passed this Invest in America agenda last term. We're in the 118th session of Congress. It was the 117th session of Congress with Nancy Pelosi's leadership and certainly Chuck Schumer in the Senate, and alongside our president and our vice president, to get these bills done. And we want to herald the infrastructure bill, all right? An amazing piece of legislation passed in November of 21 that has done so much for getting the pipes clean, getting the waters clean. Bruno talked about PFAS, all these major initiatives. We have 18 million going into just the city of Pontiac alone for lead cleanup. And what we're doing here in Ferndale on the preventative and getting in front of any type of crisis, because no city, no community should ever experience what has happened in Flint with lead. And it's been going on for a long time. We're still working on it. And we need to work on prevention, and we need to work on modernization. We also know we have aging pipes. We're a remarkable, beautiful area that was built out of over a century ago. Well, we've got to do the renovating piece. And so the $55 million that's been given, that's a nice, and not just to the city of Ferndale, it's not, but for the state of Michigan and out of infrastructure. But we have to do infrastructure 2.0. And we can't just be patting ourselves on the back because we got one infrastructure bill done. It's part of how we're here today, and that's exciting. But as your rep, I have to tell you, I am dedicated to the next generation as well. And I'm the only one here who can say it, so I'm saying it. Well, maybe Jim Nash. But we want to keep doing that. And I mention this because we're now in the 118th session of Congress. And look, I'm delighted that I've gotten, 6 bills done on a variety of different topics, some on, hostage affairs and support for hostage families, some on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, education, energy bills and the like, small bills. But the real accomplishment of just this term, when I've been in the minority party, has been that the government didn't shut down. And that we didn't default on our debt. And my friends at the EPA are nodding their head right now because they know the ramifications of when we can't pass a federal budget that keeps the lights on at these critical agencies full of remarkable civil servants who Jim Nash to Joe to obviously Phil Roos and the EGLE department, what you all rely on. I mean, we don't face that at the state level. We don't face that at the city level. So today's a remarkable moment to say that we've got a city that's put up its hands for the Get Out the Lead initiative, and certainly what we're going to continue to do with allocating these dollars. We've got some runway still with infrastructure, but you know what? It's getting reauthorized next term in Congress. And part of the reason I am here today is to show my continued commitment to cities like Ferndale, to counties like the one I am honored to represent in the Congress, Oakland County. I'm Oakland County's congresswoman. The district that I represent is exclusively and only in Oakland County. And to our state partners who are just so magnificent. And we're grateful for Whitmer's leadership because you have Invest in America with Biden, and then you have Governor Whitmer, who's matched the Invest in America initiative, has been able to implement these dollars, and then work with our state legislature as well to get other dollars in. And these are all public-private partnerships in some respects with clean energy. But with the pipes, it all comes down to the feds. It's really a public partnership at the local level. You're not going to have a company, that says, oh my gosh, we're going to do the pipes. No, it's got to be the government. And so you need good federal actors, what we have here with the EPA, what we have here, you need good state actors, what we have here with Mr. Roos, and certainly with the city and the county. So this is really a picture of how government works at its best. All hands on deck from federal, state, local, and on to deliver. What we know is we're facing more storms, we're facing more pressure, and we're doing the preventative work. So we salute you, City of Ferndale. We salute our federal agency, the EPA, and the remarkable leadership of Deborah Shore. And now we are very delighted to hear from Mr. Philip Roos, who's running the EGLE, which is the Michigan Department of what we call it, of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. What a portfolio, and there's a lot to talk about, but here today we're talking about getting out the lead and the pipes and all this other great work. So thank you, Philip Roos, and thank you to all of our friends at Ferndale for being here, and for my counterpart at Gary Peters' office, who's here he played a big role in that too. Michael Schmidt's here. But Philip, it's all you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. It's really a delight to be here with you. Maybe if I can get this. There we go. All right. Thanks for keeping the lights on in government. That's been extremely helpful. No, seriously. The federal leadership in this room, Congresswoman Stevens, Deborah Shore, who just been an amazing partner in all things that we're trying to get done here in Michigan. Bruno was running through the list just kind of casually of the 19 initiatives that have gotten done in the last several months under his leadership in the water area, and all of them really critical and fully supported by us. Really appreciate your leadership, and it's an honor to be here with you. And it's an honor to celebrate Ferndale's participation in the Get the Lead Out program. That's such a critically important program. It's part of this, you know, the bipartisan infrastructure law, $50 billion that is literally transforming our water infrastructure around the country. We in Michigan have taken full advantage of that under Governor Whitmer's leadership. We have invested, I just got the updated numbers, $5.3 billion since 2019 in federal and state money, carefully braided together, often with local money as well, that's come together to make big things happen. That's generated an estimated 75,000 jobs across the state. About a fourth of those resources have been specifically targeted to lead service lines. We have our state expert in lead service lines here, Jean-Pierre Nishimimana, right here. Appreciate your work, Jean-Pierre, and all of the teams of people who aren't in the room who have been part of that effort, because it's a lot of coordination. Our state budget priorities around water have been specifically set around what we need to do to make sure that we get the maximum amount of money for lead service line, the money from the federal government to help us make those efforts possible. So can't be grateful enough. Here in Ferndale, we've seen tremendous leadership, Joe, and your entire team here in the city. Going back to 2021, the city received a $10 million loan from EGLE's Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. That was used to remove lead service lines and upgrade other aging infrastructure. And I think that just underscores, I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I want to just mostly amplify this idea of it kind of taking a village to do this work. We've talked about our federal partners here and how critical you all have been, the unprecedented level of funding, the intelligent way in which these programs are constructed, this Get the Lead Out program, which is a missing link here in doing things like lead service line inventories, and how do I sign up for federal money, what do I need to do, all of those kind of technical assistance related things that if they're not there, the lead service lines don't move away. We can provide all the support we can at the state level, but this program is really addressing a missing gap there. So we have federal, we have state, under Governor Whitmer's leadership, an enormous, really top commitment from her to protect drinking water, to make sure we never have another Flint or anything like it. In fact, I'm just so proud to just note the transformation in Benton Harbor, incredible. There's work being done in Highland Park right now. We are finishing the last vestiges of the work that needs to be done in Flint, and quickly. And we're doing this across the state because I have a dream that we're kind of competitive here in Michigan. I'd like us to be able to say across every community in the state that we have the cleanest drinking water in the country. And I think we can do that. We have unparalleled water resources that we can access if we have the right infrastructure to support it. So federal, state, local, Joe and your team, none of this happened. We can have money available. We can nudge people. We can provide technical assistance, but none of it happens unless the city takes leadership, as you've done right here in Ferndale. And Jim Nash, been so great to be partnering with you and the role you play. This is a big county, complex, lots of different municipalities, different populations, lots of aging infrastructure to deal with, and really appreciate your leadership in this work as well. And then I want to give a final shout out to the people who are actually doing the work. To replace these lines and all the other infrastructure work. The unsung heroes, Bruno, I've heard you talk about this in the past, you know, we think about, the police department, the fire department, we don't think about the waterworks department, but these are the folks that are making this all happen. And I hope you'll pass along our thanks and congratulations for all they've accomplished here in Ferndale and across the county and across the state here. There's more work to be done. I know Governor Whitmer set aside a few months ago another $290 million to stuff the coffers of our state revolving fund. That was a big commitment that what we're doing in the coming year is going to allow us to increase the amount of assistance we can provide by something like 30%. All of these are game-changing impacts, and I really appreciate that you guys keeping the pedal to the metal and the pressure on and being such amazing partners. We're all here to work together. We can't do it without one another, and just thanks for letting me be part of this program. Congratulations to everybody. And I have the pleasure of welcoming to the podium Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner Jim Nash.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank our friends from the EPA that are here today. It's very important that that you are here and that you're backing this. I can tell you before Flint, there was not much going on around this, and Flint really made us understand that there's a significant issue. And EGLE has been a wonderful partner in just a wide variety of things, and I appreciate you being here too, Phil. It's been mentioned that you know, this is an issue that impacts a lot of communities. Many of them are the older communities, and that's a significant problem that we're facing in cities like Pontiac, Royal Oak Township, which are also economically disadvantaged communities of color that are not have not in the past been served as much as they should have been and needed to be. In Pontiac, we have it's a little over 60,000 population, about 20,000 customers. 8,000 of them are suspected or known to have lead lines. That's 40%. That's a significant amount. That means that community in the next 10 years with the new rule has to basically replace 800 a year every year for 10 years. That's a lot when you're talking about a community that already has a significant issue with affordability. That's one of those things that we can't afford to put another debt on, and that's why the outside money, the federal money, is going to play a massive part in this. It has to for economically disadvantaged communities. We're luckily enough in a nearby community, Royal Oak Township got a congressionally directed spending from our Congresswoman right here that was really helping them deal with those lead lines. That's a very small community, only about 1,500 people, about 800 customers. That's hard. When you have a small thing like just going out and investigating, that hits every customer much more than it would in a more wealthy community. So that's something we have to recognize too. In Pontiac, when we took over that community in 2015, we recognized that about 70% of the water and sewer underground infrastructure was between 80 and 120 years old. Seriously old, way past their useful life. We're in the process of replacing them. We're getting grants for that too, thankfully. But most of it's going on the backs of the ratepayers. And so we're already repairing these pipes. A lot of them for water and sewer and stormwater have to be expanded too at the same time, because the bigger storms that climate change is bringing also has to be addressed. So communities are addressing many different crises that are approaching us at different levels. So we recognize that we have to invest in this. SEMCOG, the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, says that we have to, their estimate is about $3 billion a year just for Southeast Michigan to bring our infrastructure, water, sewer, and stormwater up to where it needs to be as good condition. That's, again, another huge impact that we are desperately needing to get, especially our low-income communities, have to have help getting there. So we need that help. We know that the federal government recognizes that. We have had, in the past couple of sessions, we've had significant increases in how we're funded. That is desperately needed and greatly appreciated. And I know that both EPA and EGLE are really looking at that hard and how to make sure that this money is spent properly to make sure that we're doing these things in the long run. 10 years is a long time, is not a long time to replace this infrastructure. And another part of what we're having to do is address workforce development, because workforce development for the trades, they look a lot more like me than they do like people coming out of high school and college. So we need to get younger people involved with this. We need to do as much as we can. For the first time ever, we at Oakland County have had some apprenticeship programs. Previously, we weren't really encouraged to do that, but now we are. So we're getting these kind of getting these people into these systems to recognize that they need to play a role. You mentioned the folks that do the work. They are out there. In Michigan, you're out there from 95 degrees in the summer to 30 below zero in the winter, working in water. That's not a comfortable thing. You got to make sure that we're paying people enough to do that, so we have these people working for us, and we need to get them trained. We need more people to be trained. Oakland County, and I know the state is working on it too, Oakland County has an 80 by 30 plan, I think it is, to get 80% of Oakland County residents either a college degree or a certificate or something that gets them a higher form of education so they can get out and do this. That includes apprenticeships. That includes all our trades that we need to be out there making sure that we're recruiting as much as we can. We're already struggling to keep people. We need to make sure that we're bringing in more. We can do that with the state. We can do that with the Labor Department, with EGLE, and with everybody else, that we're making sure that we're getting these people trained and out there in the communities. Communities like Pontiac, like Royal Oak Township, whether they're larger or smaller, are all over this state. We need help to get there to them too, not just for the Oakland County. Everybody needs to be on the same page as what we're recognizing. We need to take care of these lead lines and all the other issues around water and sewer and stormwater, because if we're not, we're going to be falling behind. And that's something that I'm working hard with. I know Ferndale is doing that. Communities all over Oakland County and the region are working in that same direction. I know that some years ago we didn't play well, Oakland County, with our neighbors, and now we're playing much better. So we make sure that we're working together on all these things, because water doesn't follow borders. Water goes downhill, and that's what we got to make sure that we're protecting, uphill and downhill. Oakland County is the source of we're the headwaters of 5 watersheds in this county. So everything that we have, that we create, has to go downhill, and we're going to make sure that we're doing our job, and everybody has to do that job going downhill. And EGLE and EPA can play a terrific role with that, especially in our disadvantaged communities. So thank you for being here today. Thank you, Ferndale, for doing what you're doing. Thank you for the whole region for working together. And we get it. We have to work with our direct regulators, EGLE, the oversight of EGLE, and that sets all the laws and policies, that is EPA. So we're here to help that in any way we can at the door level, at the neighborhood, the city, the county, and our whole region. So we're here to help. We help. You guys are here for the long stretch, and I know you are. So thank you for being here. Our Congresswoman is a very model of protecting water. At the legislative level, they're also protecting water, and I just want to thank everybody. So thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you for everybody. That does conclude the remarks for this morning. And I'll just close with one thought. It really does take a village. I think we saw every layer of government speak today, working on one policy initiative that is, kind of set at the global level, but really much affected here at the local level. And so we have a health crisis and a funding crisis for cities like Ferndale. This is real impactful for our ratepayers. And I just want to shout out to my people back there, Jim, Terry, Jeff, nice job. They are the boots in the ground. Let's give them a hand. Do the work. I just look pretty. So with that, we will take any questions from the media, and I will be happy to call up our agency partners if there are any questions. Okay. That's a wrap, folks. Thank you very much.